Advocacy for mushroom vape going live. Or at least I think I am. Let's go ahead and try it. So all my mistakes will be recorded forever. Let's find out how badly I can mistake things. James Evelyn diary entry, lac tigritis. James Evelyn, sorry. It was a Gutenberg project. What is lac tigritis? Published on 22nd June 1664. The diary of John Evelyn records the name of this product as lac tigritis, meaning tiger's milk, and reports that this fungus was used by local people to treat diseases that ... MYGKB tiger milk, mushroom, and immune system. Claims. Here we go, natural tiger milk supplement. Here's a little bit more of the information. The diary of John Evelyn recorded lac tigritis, or tiger's milk, was given by Jesuits to Japan and China to their order at Paris as ... Just saying. Project Gutenberg. Oh, maybe I should have done the one above it. Yeah. Download this book. Ooh, la 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 la. You find out who he is. A couple more seconds. Go ahead. Okay, what can we do? We can read it. It's volume 1 of 2. I want to cherry pick it, so let's go to this one. This ebook is for the use of anyone, anywhere, at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away, or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at gutenberg.org/license. All right. He dressed like this, and the Chinese told them the greatest medicinal secret. Oh, he was in prison. You get it. Uh-oh. How interesting. $1683. There's another painting. Oh, 1655. Oh wow, this is during the Well, like for example, this is a great moment to imbibe with the vape of choice, a 6 mushroom blend vape, to read The Diary of John Evelyn. And I want to earmark the part where he says, Tiger Milk. Lock, what do you call it? Tigress. Well, it was published in 1664. And that was editor's introduction. What did the editor have to say? And restoration, uh-oh. Oh, much fun times. I know nothing of this period of time. There you have it, folks. We have walked into a veritable mine shaft of rabbits. Here's something interesting, then we'll leave, okay? On a white marble covering a tome shaped like a coffin, raised about 3 feet above the floor, is inscribed. Can I get it on there? Alright. Here lies the body of John Evelyn, Esquire, of this place, second son of Richard Evelyn, Esquire, who having served the public in several employments, of which of Commissioner of the Privy Seal and reign of King James II, was most honorable, and perpetuated his fame by far more lasting monuments than those of stone or brass. His learned and useful works fell asleep the 27th day of February 1705, 1706, being the 86th year of his age, in full hope of a glorious resurrection, through faith in Jesus Christ, living in an age of extraordinary events and revolutions. He learnt, as himself asserted, this truth, which pursuant to his intention is here declared. That all is vanity, which is not honest, that there is no solid wisdom, but in real piety. Of 5 sons and 3 daughters born to him from his most virtuous and excellent wife, Mary, sole daughter and heiress of Sir Rich Brown of Sayes Court, near Deptford in Kent. Only $1. Susanna married to William Draper, Esquire of Ascombe, this county, survived him, and the 2 others dying in the flower of their age, and all the sons very young, except one named John, who deceased 24 March 1698, 1699, in the 45th year of his age, leaving 1 son, John, and 1 daughter, Elizabeth. Wow. Wouldn't you like to have an epitaph on your burial stone? Mine would be, here lies he, the victim of weed, for we not thoughts to live forever with his draughts. Advocacy for mushroom vape. And he is basically his diary. How much fun is this? Now, would you like the time to sit here and read this diary? Of one of the most influential men that we have in today's mycological research. And with a cigar, get it? C''Gar. You can sit back and read a tome in the quiet area you designate as your vape area, your vape quiet lounge. Advocacy for vape. Well, I mean, since we're cherry picking anyway, I just thought maybe I'd. All right, so my mistake, leaving you guys in silence. This was the year in which pestilence was so epidemical that there died in London 5,000 a week, and I well remember the strict watches and examination upon ways we passed. And I was shortly after so dangerously sick of a fever that, as I've heard, physicians despaired of me. I'm not saying advocacy for vape because I'm a crude man and like to read somebody's ill moment of travel, but get this. The physicians felt ill of his future, yet I believe he finds the cure in mushrooms. And that is the advocacy for mushroom vape, I would say. November 3rd, 1633, this year my father was appointed sheriff, the last, as I think, who served in the honorable office for Surrey and Sussex before they were disjoined. He had 116 servants in liveries, everyone livered in green satin doublets, divers gentlemen and persons of quality waited on him in the same garb and habit, which at the time, when 30 or 40 was the usual retinue of the high sheriff, was esteemed a great matter. Nor was this out in the least vanity that my father exceeded, who was one of the greatest decliners of it. Uh-oh. Through her physicians, Dr. Marrable, Dr. Clement, and Dr. Rand had given all over hopes of her recovery, and Sir Sanders Duncombe had tried and celebrated the famous powder, yet she was as many days impairing, endured the sharpest conflicts of her sickness with admirable patience and most Christian resignation, retaining both her intellectuals and ardent affections for her dissolution. To the very article of her departure, when near her dissolution, she laid her hand on every one of her children, and taking solemn leave from my father, which elevated heart and eyes, she quietly expired, and resigned her soul to God. Yes. This is a horror show. Well, I mean, he lived during the plague. Let's see. He went to the country in 1637, joining his brother. Went back to Oxford in 1639. Took a journey of pleasure to see the Somersetshire Baths, Bristol, Cirencester, Abington, and divers other towns of lesser note, and returned the 25th He went on a pleasure craft with one Mr. J. Crawford. I'm in for it now. I said that there was something worth finding in here. I mean, it is intriguing. This would make a nice read. All right, how about for the advocacy of mushroom vape, we go back to the beginning, because that sounds pretty intriguing here. To live through that period of time and to have something to say about medicinal efficacy of a particular mushroom. As noted by other resources. So I have, this is 1/6 of my mushroom vape. And I believe that since we have a few minutes, let's run a descriptive narrative on this, if you don't mind. Give me 10 minutes? All right, let's run through this quickly for 10 minutes. He was born at Wotton in the county of Surrey about 20 minutes past 2 in the morning, being on Tuesday the 31st and last of October, 1620. After my father had been married about 7 years, and then my mother had borne him 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. About the 33rd year of his age and the 23rd year of my mother's. Well, it's a diary, number 1. Number 2, he just has 2 sisters. So they had a brother. My father, named Richard, was one of sanguine complexion, mixed with a dash of color. His hair inclining to light, which, through exceedingly thick, became hoary by the time he had attained to 30 years of age. It was somewhat curled toward the extremities. His beard, which he wore a little peaked at the mode, was out of a brownish color, and so continued to the last, save it was somewhat mingled with his gray hairs about his cheeks, which, with his countenance, were clear and fresh colored. His eyes extraordinary, quick and piercing, an ample forehead, and some a very well composed visage and manly aspect. For the rest, he was but low of stature, yet very strong. He was, for his life, so exact and temperate that I have heard he had never been surprised by excess, being aesthetic and sparing. His wisdom was great, his judgment was most acute, and solid discourse, affable, humble, and in nothing affected of a thriving, neat, silent, and methodical genius, discreetly severe, yet liberal upon all just occasions, both to his children, to strangers, and servants. Can you imagine writing about your father in your diary? And thinking this is going to be the only thing I'm ever going to write down. Ever. What shall I say? And these are huge what-ifs in the mind of a writer to begin with. And look at the beautiful prose he had constructed. Quite dignified dictum. A lover of hospitality, and in brief of a singular and Christian moderation by all his actions, not illiterate, nor obscure as having continued justice of the peace and the quorum. He served his county as high sheriff, being, as I take it, the last dignified with the office for Sussex and Surrey together the same year before the separation. He was yet a studious decliner of honors and titles, being already in that esteem with his country that they could have added little to him besides their burden. He was a person of that rare conversation that upon frequent recollection and calling to mind passages of his life and discourse, I could never charge him with the least passion or inadvertency. His estate was esteemed about £4,000 per annum, well wooded and full of timber. Well, that was during a time when a man created an economic overflow for his social merits, and in doing so, he creates his own per se wealth. But it is that wealth and how he achieves it is the call of acclaim, or at least call of merit. He did well. And he didn't ruin it by talk. He didn't ruin it by ruining it, like the way I would in my normal discourse with people. Thus much in brief touching my parents, nor was it reasonable I should speak less of them to whom I owe so much. What a beautiful way to recap that. You talk of your parents to be of the level of esteem that you can possibly, highest praise you can possibly give, yet you need to continue on with your story. Beautifully written. First was Wotton, in the parish of Wotton, or Blackheath, in the county of Surrey, the then mansion house of my father, left him by my grandfather, afterward now my eldest brothers. Such is the prestigious life. So did I read that initial part wrong? I suppose it's where his father came from, I imagine. All right. They lived a little more than 20 miles from London. It's a good day's walk. If you take 15-minute miles, $12. All right. $4 miles an hour. Oh, it would take you more than that. How about half an hour per mile? Take you all day. So we got horses. Then we went horseless carriages. Well, he knows quite a bit about his birth. I'm sorry, I didn't want to read that out loud. In 1624, I was not initiated into any rudiments until 4 years of age, and then one friar taught us at the church porch of Wotton. And I do perfectly remember the great talk and stir about to Condor Gondomar, now ambassador from Spain, for near about this time was the match of our prince which the Infanta proposed. He wrote this in 1664, 40 years from here. Look at it puts it. The effects of that comment 1618, was still working in the prodigious revolutions now beginning in Europe, especially in Germany, whose sad commotion sprang from the Bohemians' defection from the Emperor Matthias, upon which quarrel the Swedes broke in, giving umbrage to the rest of the princes and the whole Christian world cause to deplore it as never seen, enjoying perfect tranquility. As never since enjoying perfect tranquility. How much fun is that? And in 1625, he was sent by my father to Lewes in Sussex to be with my grandfather, Stansfield, with whom I passed my childhood. This is the year in which pestilence was so epidemical that there died in London 5,000 a week, and I well remember the strict watches and examinations upon the ways as we passed, and I was shortly after so dangerously sick of a fever that I, as I have heard, the divisions despaired of me. In 1626, my picture was drawn in oil by one in Chanterelle, no ill painter. His grandfather Stansfield died 2 years later, the 5th of February. Got a pious monument. His grandmother, his grandfather's second wife. Was only going to hang him. This is a crazy diary, people. Alright, after I sold the... Alright, so... His second wife erected pious monument. About this time was consecration of the Church of South Malling, near Lewes, by Dr. Field, Bishop of Oxford, one of Mr. Coxall preached, who was afterward minister. The building whereof was chiefly procured by my grandfather, who, having the impropriation, gave 20 pounds a year out of it to his church. I afterwards sold the impropriation and laid one of the first stones of the building of the church. Impropriation. Oh, to cover it up or to make it over. I don't know. But I mean, it was during a period of time when religion was found to be run by man. You don't want to be in the wrong side of that fence when you're about to find out that man is running religion. That's over, and I guess it's this period of time as well. Okay, 1631, there happened now an extraordinary dearth in England, corn bearing an excessive price, and in imitation what I've seen my father do, I began to observe matters more punctually, which I did use to set down in a blank almanac. Lord of Castlehaven's arrangement for many shameful exorbitances was now all the talk, and the birth of Princess Mary, afterward Princess of Orange. How incredible. And then November 1630, Surrey, his father was appointed sheriff. He thinks who survived the honorable office for Surrey and Sussex before they were disjoined. He had 116 servants in liveries, every one liveried in green satin doublets. Divers gentlemen and persons of quality waited on him in the same garb and habit as which at the time when 3040 was the usual revenue of the high sheriff, as esteemed as a great matter. Nor was this out of the least vanity that my father exceeded, who was one of the greatest decliners of it, but because he could not refuse the civility of his friends and relations, who voluntarily came themselves or sent in their servants. But my father was afterward most unjustly and spitefully molested by the jeering judge, Richardson, for depriving the execution of a woman to gratify my lord of Lindsay, then admiral, but out of this he emerged with much honor as trouble. The king made this year his progress into Scotland, and Duke James was born. Okay, I will just call it quits for there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.